One quick one. I seen it in Discord earlier on. Somebody was asking, and you might be the best person to ask here. Adam and Eve. We've all heard of Adam and Eve. They come down. Cain and Abel. Where did everyone else come from, Ken?
I'm just laughing because on the Discord, somebody posted these images of flying saucers and unicorns and KBS, you know?
Yeah, that's usually, that sums up my show perfectly. I go all the way from the unicorns to UFOs. It's how I roll, dude. I'm the #1 abnormal, paranormal show in this world and the next. That's my own. I've given myself that title, you know?
Okay, so here's a circumlocution. Okay, if you think about what's generally known as Gnostic Christianity or Christian Gnosticism, which is an absolute contradiction in terms, they claim that the creator of this physical material realm was a lesser god who was arrogant and ignorant, if not senile, because it created the material physical realm. And in Gnosticism, it is ontologically wicked and corrupt, meaning in its very nature and essence, the physical realm is corrupt just because it is physical, because Gnosticism considers the physical to be corrupt and only spirit to be pure. Okay. And it's easy to think that that is biblical Christianity, but it's not, because you ask any Christian, is the flesh wicked? Yes. Is spirit pure? Yes. But there's a fundamental difference, which is biblically God created the material realm, the physical realm, good. He meant to create it that way, and it was created good. But it underwent a fall. So it is after the fall that we can say, well, the flesh is wicked or the material realm is corrupt. It's only after that. But unlike Gnosticism, biblically, it is redeemable. It is still redeemable. And that's why Jesus came. And so you have God creating Adam and Eve, and you figure he's probably smart enough to create them genetically perfect, right? Front-loaded with enough genetic information so that generation after generation after generation, even due to the onset of post-fall genetic entropy, that they would be able to keep reproducing human beings after their own kind that would eventually start suffering genetically, but still they were so jam-packed with pristine genetic information initially that you could have generation after generation after generation still surviving, right? And so this is part of why early on you would naturally assume that Adam and Eve's children were marrying and having children with each other, because the genetics were still so pristine. They would not have had the problems that we would have today if we do that. And so you find that there's no commandment against doing that way back then. Later on, in the time of Moses, there do come commandments from God talking about how you don't marry close relatives. And you figure, well, why all of a sudden? Well, because apparently the genetic entropy was getting to the point at that point in time that it did start becoming a problem. And so you need to be very careful about this stuff. So anyhow, if there's times when the Bible is extremely succinct, right? Like in Revelation 12, there's a verse that talks about how Jesus was born, sat on a throne, and then was taken up into heaven. What my point is, 3 decades worth of time are summed up in a little fraction of a verse, right? And that's what you find in Genesis 5. So in Genesis 4 is when it starts describing the birth of Cain and then Abel. And then in Genesis 5, multiple generations go by. They're just mentioned really quickly. So that by the time Cain gets married, there are plenty of people around for him to be married to, plenty of women, sisters or cousins, right? And so that's really the key, is taking the Bible seriously for what it says, which is that God created things good, and then it makes sense that that would be such that they could interbreed with each other, and it wouldn't have been a problem for many, many, many generations down the line, so that when they needed to get married, there were generations worth of people around.
Thank you.
That's the bottom line.
Thank you. That is, hands down for me, the best explanation I've ever heard of that really kind of controversial kind of point of conversation. That Connie, I think, has agreed. I'm sure there's other people out there who have never had it explained to them quite like that. The fact that the commandment comes later. And that makes sense.
Right.
As somebody who's into science and following along what you say, the entropy, getting to the point then where it is a problem. But back when it started, it wasn't the problem. So thank you. Thank you for that.